The city pulsed with life outside the Golden Fork, the legendary Manhattan steakhouse famous for its long mahogany bar, glimmering chandeliers, and patrons who arrived in chauffeured cars. Inside, ether mingled with sizzle, the kind of atmosphere that made even seasoned staff nervous. It was here, in the heart of wealth and power, that William Carter found himself on the eve of his 55th birthday. That morning, William awoke in the penthouse of a five-star hotel he technically owned, staring at the skyline and trying to summon gratitude. He had everything: billions in the bank, magazine covers, partnerships with the UK's most famous chefs. But with every passing birthday, the celebrations felt emptier. Family who'd drifted away. Friends lost to suspicion. Employees who, when he visited incognito, treated him as a nuisance or threat. The truth stung. Wealth didn't shield him from disappointment, it amplified it. William's driver, an old friend named Mike, arrived with a simple cake. "Happy birthday, Bill. 55. Want me to call the papers?" "Just drive me somewhere quiet," William replied, folding up the cake and leaving it on the counter. He settled on one of his own establishments. "If I'm lucky," he mused, "I'll find something real." The Golden Fork had a reputation, not just for food but for rumors. Staff whispered about affairs, debts, betrayals. Yet the core team stayed year after year, led by the formidable manager, Mr. Hawkins. Tall and slick-haired, Hawkins was known for his outbursts, favoritism, and ironclad control. In the kitchen, Chef Denise Wells presided over steaks, duck fat fries, and truffle mac. Denise was brilliant but tired, having endured 8 years beneath Hawkins's reign. Her sous chefs worked in nervous silence, and the waitstaff quietly navigated shifting allegiances, knowing one wrong move could mean lost shifts or worse. Emma Brooks arrived at 11 o'clock that morning, her second black apron already stained from her first job. She carried a battered backpack and dreams of finishing college while supporting her father, who lay bedridden in their cramped apartment across the bridge in Queens. She clocked in. Hawkins scowled. "Brooks, you're late. Again. Must be nice to have enough money to waste my time." "I'm sorry, sir. Subway delays," she offered, ignoring the bite. "Excuses don't seat tables," Hawkins replied, motioning toward a family lingering by the window. "And don't expect overtime. You haven't earned it." Emma swallowed her frustration, grabbed a stack of menus, and began the day's parade of smiles. She greeted regulars, Mrs. Klein with her endless questions about salad dressings, Mr. Donnelly with his habit of pocketing sugar packets. When she paused to help new hire Miguel carry water glasses, Hawkins caught her. "Brooks, you're not a busboy. Tables. Now." Meanwhile, William entered unnoticed during the noon rush, sinking into the booth furthest from the door. He listened to the buzz, absorbing fragments of conversation. One investment banker bragged about bonuses. A giggling couple planned their wedding. At the bar, a heartbroken writer drowned his sorrows in craft beer. Emma approached, glancing at William's attire, a thrift store jacket, frayed cuffs, worn boots. "Good afternoon. Welcome to the Golden Fork. My name's Emma. Can I get you started with a drink?" William smiled, grateful for her lack of judgment. "Just water, please. And maybe. What do you recommend for someone who wants comfort?" Emma considered. "If you're hungry, the truffle mac is famous. But if you're after comfort, nothing beats the classic burger." He nodded. "Burger it is. You know, my grandmother always said the simplest meals were the most honest." Emma grinned, her exhaustion fading a little. "That's true. I'll make sure it's perfect." As she fetched his drink, Hawkins intercepted her. "What's with the chit-chat? This isn't a social club." "It's manners, sir," she replied. He rolled his eyes. William observed the exchange, noticing how Emma didn't let Hawkins's criticism affect her care for guests. Across the room, Chef Denise dropped a saucepan, splattering demi-glace everywhere. Hawkins stormed into the kitchen. "Denise, you're costing me money with your clumsiness." Denise muttered. "Accidents happen, Chris." He cut her off. "What happens is you pay attention. or pay the price. The kitchen fell silent. Denise's hands trembled as she cleaned up. Emma saw everything, feeling sympathy but powerless. By 3 o'clock the lunch crowd thinned. William finished his meal, leaving half untouched. Emma asked, "Is everything all right?" "Best burger I've had in years," William replied, meaning it. They talked briefly about the city, food, and family. Emma didn't realize she was speaking to the owner. She just wanted him to feel welcome. Hawkins noticed William's tab. "Just a burger and water." "Brooks, you're wasting time on cheapskates." Emma's cheeks flushed, but she responded, "I treat every customer with respect, sir." He scoffed, scribbling something in his notebook. Later, as Emma bussed William's table, she found a folded $100 bill beneath his plate. "Thank you," was written on the back. She tucked it away, knowing her father's medicine might be affordable now. William left quietly, stopping near the host stand. He watched Hawkins berate a teenage host for a minor slip. As he walked out, he resolved to return for dinner, determined to learn more about how his own team treated the invisible. That evening the shift changed. Emma was back, exhausted but determined. Hawkins gathered the staff. "VIP is coming, some big corporate type. We need perfection. Brooks, stay out of the main room. You'll be handling the back tables and kitchen entries." Emma nodded, used to second-choice assignments. At 6, William returned in different clothes. Older, even plainer. He wanted to see the real restaurant, the one that's invisible to guests who could pay top dollar. The main room sparkled. Hostesses fawned over guests. Hawkins hovered, correcting table placements. In the kitchen, Denise rallied her staff. "Whatever happens, don't let them get to you." Emma was assigned table 32, a spot near the kitchen, notorious for noise and drafts. Her first guest was a tired construction worker. Her second, William Carter, again dressed humbly. She recognized him and offered a smile. "Back so soon." He shrugged. "Missed your burger," and ordered the same. As the meal unfolded, Emma noticed Hawkins staring daggers at her. At 7, the VIP party arrived, led by a hedge fund manager with an entourage. Hawkins scrambled, demanded staff cut corners to expedite service, pressured Denise to serve undercooked steaks for time. Denise refused, but Hawkins overruled her. "They want speed, not perfection." William noticed the change. Meals looked rushed, staff stressed. Meanwhile, Emma helped a panicked dishwasher fix a clogged drain, mopped up a spill, and comforted a crying busboy. Each act of kindness went unnoticed by Hawkins, who instead berated her for missing valuable guests. A buzz began among staff. Word was Hawkins falsified inventory to hide kickbacks from suppliers. Emma overheard 2 waitresses whispering. He threatened Miguel for questioning the wine shipments. Said he'd call it. That night, Hawkins asked Emma to sign off on freezer inventory, including mysterious boxes. She recognized the labels, not from their regular suppliers. "Sign here," Hawkins pressed. Emma hesitated. "I don't recognize these. Are they approved?" His voice dropped. "Sign or you're on suspension. No hours, no pay, no insurance." Emma's heart pounded. She remembered her father. She remembered her hope. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't." Hawkins exploded in rage, berating her in front of the kitchen staff. William watched from his table, alarmed by the cruelty. Quietly, after busking the last plate, Emma found a clean napkin and wrote a note. "Dangerous inventory. Hawkins, please check books and freezer. Staff scared, food not safe." She slipped it to William as he paid, whispering, "Thank you." William read the note in the cab outside, stunned. He called his security team. "Audit everything. Quietly. Protect Emma and anyone else at risk." The next morning, William's team found a mountain of discrepancies. Fake supplier invoices, cheap meat sold as prime cuts, illegal labor threats. Emma was called in by Hawkins and threatened with termination for treason. But instead of backing down, Emma reached out to Chef Denise. "It's not just me, is it? He's hurting all of us. Denise nodded, showing Emma a notebook full of falsified orders. Together, they decided to bring everything to William, still suspecting nothing about his identity. At dinner, William arrived as himself, dressed in a tailored suit. Hawkins and the staff took notice, scrambling to impress. Emma didn't recognize him immediately, but his kindness, his quiet questions, felt familiar. After dessert, William gathered the staff. "I need to speak as the owner," he announced, voice ringing clear. Hawkins went white. "What's this? Are you accusing me?" William presented the evidence: staff notes, inventory logs, supplier invoices, and Emma's napkin. The room erupted. Staff shared their stories. Hawkins tried to deny everything, but William was relentless. "You threatened and bullied. You put staff at risk, endangered guests, and corrupted the spirit of this place." Police arrived, taking Hawkins into custody. The staff, once divided, united in applause. William turned to Emma and Denise. "You showed more courage than most people ever will. You risked your jobs, your safety, for the truth." He offered Emma a new position: Director of Staff Welfare, salary tripled, insurance for her father, a seat at management meetings. Denise became head chef of the whole chain, empowered to enforce safety and honesty. After Hawkins was gone, the restaurant changed overnight. Employees smiled. Emma built programs for staff support, free meals, and legal aid for undocumented workers. Chef Denise redesigned the kitchen. Reviews soared. Customers felt the difference, even in the food. William hosted a dinner for all staff, honoring Emma's courage and Denise's grit. Emma stood, voice trembling, and toasted, "To anyone who dreams of a better world, you don't have to be rich or powerful. You just need to care and act." William smiled, realizing he'd found the honesty he'd searched for all those lonely birthdays. Emma visited her father, now receiving proper care, and said, "We're okay now." He squeezed her hand, pride shining in his eyes. News of the restaurant's transformation spread. Other chains called, wanting help fixing toxic workplaces. Emma's programs expanded nationwide. She trained staff in London, Manchester, LA, Boston. Months passed. Emma grew as a leader, handling crises, championing fairness, soothing staff fears. She never forgot her roots, always greeting new hires with warmth. William met her regularly for coffee, sharing stories of hope. On the one-year anniversary, the Golden Fork staff framed Emma's napkin, hanging it beside Employee of the Month photos, a testament to justice, to kindness, to change. Emma addressed staff at their annual meeting. "We are all responsible for each other's dignity. Never be afraid to speak. That's how we protect what truly matters." The applause was thunderous. William Carter, once a lonely billionaire, finally had a family. And in the quiet after the applause, Emma reflected, it all started with one moment, one note, one act of integrity. Emma Brooks woke early the next morning, sunlight spilling through a cracked window in her family's apartment. Her father's breathing was easier now, his chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. She made breakfast, oatmeal and apples, the same as always, and helped him settle into a cozy armchair by the window. As she packed her bag for work, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. 4 years, dread had been a daily companion. Today, for the first time, she could sense hope. At the Golden Fork, the mood had utterly changed. Rumors of Hawkins's arrest had spread like wildfire through Manhattan's service community. Employees arrived early, chatting and laughing in ways they hadn't dared before. Denise, now the chain's head chef, greeted Emma with an embrace. "You did it," Denise said quietly, eyes damp. "You saved us all." Emma grinned, embarrassed. "No, we all did this, Denise. You helped me stand up, remember?" Denise gripped her hand. "I believed in you because you showed the way." In the weeks that followed, Emma took her new role to heart. She set up regular meetings with staff, learned about their lives, their families, their struggles, the dreams they had quietly buried before. Some were students paying tuition. Others sent money back home, sometimes halfway across the world. She organized a safe staff hotline for anonymous complaints, arranged for health counselors to visit monthly, and insisted every worker get fair shifts and breaks. She listened. She acted. Little by little, the environment changed. Employees who used to dread Hawkins's rants found their voices. When Miguel struggled, Emma made sure he got mentorship and extra training. When Sandy, a server going through divorce, wept in the alley, Emma sat with her, letting her talk until the sadness ran out. William Carter watched all this quietly, visiting the restaurant more often. Sometimes he blended in, other times he took meetings in the manager's office, always bringing suggestions from decades in business. Emma quickly realized William wasn't just a businessman. He was someone who wanted to heal wounds, create meaning out of loneliness. They built a partnership rooted in mutual trust. William gave Emma the freedom to shape staff policies, encouraging her to develop programs no one else dared try. Paid sick days, mental health assistance, language classes for staff from overseas. Emma scripted them all, turning the Golden Fork into a model of fairness. The chain's reputation soared. Reviewers, once obsessed only with the Wagyu steaks and the velvet booths, now wrote about the Emma Brooks effect. Staff retention doubled, employee satisfaction hit record highs, and diners came not just for the food, but the atmosphere of care. One evening, local reporters arrived for interviews. Emma was nervous, she hated cameras, but William reassured her. Remember, you're just telling the truth. That's harder for most than you think. Lights flashed. Journalists asked about her journey from server to executive. Emma shared her story, focusing on teamwork, courage, and the responsibility all people share for one another. It's not about me, she said. It's about everyone who keeps going when things get tough. The interview went viral. Other restaurant chains reached out, some in New York, others in London and Glasgow, hoping to learn how to build similar programs. Emma created online workshops, traveling for talks. She met activists fighting for fair labor, chefs determined to rebuild broken kitchens, and employees who had suffered for years without a voice. She started visiting restaurants alone, sometimes in disguise, sometimes as herself. She listened to stories of fear and hope. Sometimes she shed tears, promising change, knowing she had resources behind her. The Golden Fork became a beacon. Other owners sent staff for weeks of Emma Brooks immersion, learning how to create safety, kindness, and trust. Emma welcomed them, lifting every story into policy and action. One day, William sat with Emma in a quiet booth. The restaurant bustled, alive with laughter and warmth. "You've transformed more lives than anyone I know, Emma," he said. She smiled shyly, still uncomfortable with praise. "You gave me the chance. And you cared enough to listen when I was invisible." He replied, "I've spent half my life looking for real people. You helped me find them here." Emma looked around, seeing Denise laugh with the kitchen team, Miguel showing new hires the ropes, Sandy cracking jokes with 2 servers. Everything felt different, and she'd helped make it so. But it hadn't all been easy. Trouble still came. Vendors who tried to cheat on deliveries, rival managers attempting sabotage, and internet trolls who claimed Emma's success was luck. She faced angry calls, harsh reviews, and more than one sleepless night worrying about how to help a staff member through crisis. Still, she didn't quit. Whenever doubts crept in, she remembered her father's words. The truth always wins. Years passed. Emma grew seasoned. Not hard, but strong from surviving and helping others. She finished her degree in social work, blending business sense with compassion. William watched Emma rise, quietly helping her study, dealing with legal matters in the background, and arranging scholarships for staff families. On the 5th anniversary of her napkin note, the staff threw a celebration worthy of Broadway. They framed her note, hung it next to a mural showing every staff member, waitstaff, cooks, dishwashers, hosts, smiling together. Emma gave a speech about integrity and kindness, her voice clear, her heart full. William stood beside her, tears in his eyes. "You taught me what matters," he whispered as the crowd cheered. At the end of the night, Emma sat with her father on the newly renovated patio. The city glowed. "Dad, I'm grateful every day for your courage. I wouldn't have made it without you." He smiled. "You gave me hope, Em. That's the greatest gift." Emma squeezed his hand. "I'll keep fighting. For you. For everyone." The Golden Fork's legacy spread worldwide. Other industries called hotels, airlines, corporations. Emma traveled, learning new cultures, touching hearts everywhere. And whenever she felt overwhelmed, she remembered William's quiet support, and the napkin she'd written so many years ago. A simple act that saved not only her own future but thousands more. Because the smallest act of integrity, a waitress standing up for truth, an owner choosing kindness, can transform lives in every corner of a busy world. Emma's ascent made waves across an industry where few expected true change. With her at the helm of staff welfare, the Golden Forks family grew stronger and more deeply connected, but so did the attention. Journalists praised her approach, but so did critics, not all of whom were friendly. Rival restaurant groups saw Emma's policies as a threat, a dangerous precedent that could lead to demands for higher wages, more benefits, a cultural shift away from their bottom lines. One such group was run by Malcolm Reed, a restaurateur with a reputation for opulence and a famous disdain for over-coddling staff. When he heard the Golden Fork sales had surged alongside its staff satisfaction scores, he dismissed the news at an industry conference. "Kindness. You can't serve kindness on a silver platter. People want steak and sizzle, not sermons from the waitstaff." Emma, unbothered by the slight, stayed focused. She expanded the Golden Forks employee mentorship, inviting guest speakers, hosting resume clinics, and sponsoring a second chance program for formerly incarcerated job seekers. Denise, as head chef, made space on the line for these new hires. Some floundered, many blossomed, and Emma cheered at each story of success, mindful that progress always came with setbacks. Meanwhile, William Carter saw a change in himself as well. No longer just a distant figure on magazine covers. He made time every week to walk the floor, busting tables, checking up on cooks and waiters. Sometimes he did it in his old disguise, sometimes as himself. The staff called him Bill, and kids from the dish pit tried to stump him with kitchen trivia. At nights, he and Emma went over reports, brainstorming new ideas for community outreach and partnership with food banks. Emma's father slowly recovered. For the first time in years, he moved from his old armchair to take short walks in the park. "You've given me hope, Em. And whether you like it or not, you've found yourself a second family," he'd say. He meant the staff, but also William, Denise, and the growing circle of honest souls the Golden Fork attracted. It wasn't always easy. Success invited envy. One late night, after a long shift, Emma found the mural of staff photos slashed and defaced. Someone had scrawled, "Fake hero" in red paint. Word spread quickly, dividing the staff. Some wanted to keep it quiet, others insisted on calling the police. Emma decided to call an all-staff meeting. She stood before the defaced mural, voice shaking at first, then growing strong. "I know it hurts to see this. I know it's scary. But every big change meets resistance. This isn't just about me. This is about what we've built together. I say we repaint it bigger this time. Not just my note, but everyone's." Painters among the staff volunteered their skills. Denise organized meals for long painting shifts. Over a week, the whole team came together after hours, transforming the vandalized wall into a mural of hundreds of faces, hands joined. Servers, cooks, cleaners, owners, regulars, families, all painted in luminous color. When it was finished, Emma made sure her note was joined by dozens of others. Scribbled moments of courage, bits of encouragement, reminders of dignity. The reopening celebration drew attention from city officials, labor organizers, even old rivals who grudgingly admitted the display was inspiring. Business boomed. Customers wanted to eat in a place that felt part of a story about resilience and unity. Emma grew into her leadership, learning political navigation, the art of negotiation with insurance agents, even labor lawyers. She fought for high-risk staff to receive better pay, won grant money for staff scholarships, and started a childcare stipend for parents. The Golden Fork hosted neighborhood events, immigration clinics, health screenings, food drives, drawing crowds from across the 5 boroughs. William cautioned, "Every time you widen the circle, you take on new battles." He worried about burnout, but Emma surprised him with her stamina and optimism. "As long as I get to help even one more person, it's worth it," she'd say. The restaurant's success became a national story. The Golden Fork was profiled on morning TV. Emma traveled to accept awards, always crediting her staff. Denise won a prestigious food festival with a heartwarming speech about second chances in the kitchen. William wrote an op-ed about the power of kindness in business, shaming rivals who still clung to old ways. But beneath the glow, Emma faced new challenges. Some new hires struggled to believe in the fairness. A young server named Caleb, with a history of dead-end jobs and rough family life, distrusted all authority. When money went missing at the bar, he was the first suspect. Old ways die hard, and staff whispered. Emma, instead of condemning, asked for a private meeting. Caleb at first refused to talk, but Emma persisted with compassion. She shared her own story, the fear, anger, and the way kindness from strangers had changed her life. The next day, the missing money turned up. Someone else had made a mistake, and Caleb apologized to the team himself. Emma never once brought it up again. As Emma grew in influence and the Golden Fork expanded, now with locations in Brooklyn, Boston, Chicago, and even London, where Denise mentored new chefs, her reputation spread internationally. NGOs invited her to speak about business ethics. Former rivals asked for her advice. More than once, she got letters from waitress and dishwasher unions, thanking her for raising the standard and making their voices matter. William, now in his early 60s, knew he'd found someone to continue his legacy. One evening at a small staff party, he handed Emma a letter, his eyes misty. "You don't know what you've done for me or for all of us, but when I'm gone, I want you to keep building." Emma hugged him, promising, "We'll make you proud." Emma became a mentor herself, guiding dozens of former staffers into management, helping with college recommendations, writing checks for emergencies, visiting grieving families, and never letting her head get caught up in the praise. And yet, she always made time for hands-on work, cleaning tables with new hires, checking on kitchen staff during rough nights, or just listening to anyone who needed a friend. But not all challenges were public. Privately, Emma sometimes felt the strain. Late nights worrying about payroll, tearful phone calls from staff in crisis, moments of overwhelming responsibility. On those nights, she remembered her father's gentle reminder. "No one carries the sky alone. Let people help you, Em." In quieter times, she walked the city, watching the play of lights against skyscrapers. Her own measure of how far she'd come from waiting tables and worrying over rent. At the Golden Fork's 10th anniversary, city officials presented Emma, Denise, William, and the entire staff with a civic award for transforming not just a restaurant, but an entire way of doing business. They were hailed as pioneers in compassionate leadership, a case study taught in business schools nationwide. Standing at the podium, Emma looked at her team and realized the miracle. From a single napkin note, courage and dignity had multiplied, carrying hundreds, maybe thousands, into a new way of living and working. She closed her speech with the words that had changed her life. "The smallest act of integrity can change everything. And when we stand up for each other, no one stands alone." The crowd's applause echoed into the night, a city changed by kindness and courage, one story, one person at a time. Emma's world kept expanding, and with it, the weight of countless lives intertwined in her mission. 2 years after the Golden Fork's transformation, new chapters were opening in cities far beyond Manhattan. Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, even a flagship in London's bustling West End. Each new location meant fresh challenges, fresh dreams, and new stories. Emma traveled often, becoming the living bridge between kitchens and boardrooms, learning more about people than she could ever have guessed. In Boston, she worked with a team of immigrant cooks who barely spoke English, yet mastered local flavors with remarkable grace. She helped set up free English classes after hours, and more than one chef credited her patience with later earning citizenship. On the West Coast, She faced a walkout after a regional manager tried to enforce harsh scheduling practices. Emma flew in that night, listened to every worker's story, and successfully lobbied for flexible hours, a policy soon adopted across the chain. Every new victory was hard-won. Public image soared, but behind the scenes, Emma sometimes struggled. Balancing budgets, managing crises, and handling backlash from naysayers. All of it kept her up some nights, staring at city lights outside hotel windows. She missed her father, who was now well enough to travel but preferred the comfort of home, and missed Denise, who had made the London opening her life's work. At the heart of the Golden Fork, Emma built a team called the Circle of Care. These were managers, counselors, and elder staff who carried the core values everywhere the business operated. Before any new restaurant opened, Circle members traveled to meet the team, train them in fair practices, gather community feedback, and run trust-building activities. Turnover dropped. Staff felt safe. Families thrived. But not everyone welcomed change. In Manchester, a local newspaper ran a series claiming Emma's policies were driving up menu prices and ruining British dining. At home, union leaders sometimes protested that employee voices were being filtered through management, not heard directly. Emma took each criticism seriously, holding open forums and never shying away from hard conversations. She made mistakes and owned up to them, earning grudging respect even from critics. William Carter remained her mentor and friend. Though aging, he traveled less. His health grew frail, and after a brief hospitalization for heart trouble, he called Emma to his bedside. "You know, Em, when I started out, all I wanted was respect. But I spent decades earning money, not hearts. You helped me finally bridge that gap." Emma squeezed his hand. "You always cared, Bill. You just didn't know where to show it." He smiled. "You still have so much left to give. Don't let anyone shrink your light." With William's blessing, Emma began speaking at universities, non-profit events, and business expos across the world. Her schedule was relentless. Consultations in Tokyo, speaking gigs in Cape Town, team-building workshops in Rio. Sometimes she felt lost in the whirlwind, her old anxieties resurfacing on red-eye flights. But staff messages and stories kept her going. Letters from dishwashers in LA whose children were the first in their families to attend college, from single parents in Boston who finally felt seen and valued at work. Back in Manhattan, Emma's father hosted his first dinner party in years, inviting staff from the Golden Fork to share stories and laughter. Emma caught herself marveling at how the world could change from a single moment of courage, a single note scribbled in shaky handwriting. One night, just before Christmas, Emma sat alone in a London cafe, sipping cold tea. She watched a young waiter comfort a weeping customer, and felt a deep pride for how these little acts had become routine in every Golden Fork across the globe. She pulled out her phone and tapped a message to Denise. "Remember when we said we were just trying to survive? Now we have hundreds of families counting on us. The dream got bigger, didn't it?" Denise replied instantly. "And all of us are dreaming now, Em. You made belief possible." Course, challenges persisted. A viral video emerged showing an altercation between a stressed manager and worker in Chicago. Critics called Emma's model naive. Emma responded not with PR spin, but by flying in, talking to everyone involved, and letting the staff decide how to move forward. They chose dialogue, forgiveness, and increased mental health support over punishment. Another precedent, another ripple. In her downtime, Emma focused on ongoing learning. She took courses in conflict resolution, community organizing, and cultural history, building skills to match the responsibilities she never wanted, but now embraced as her calling. Personal life, too, came back into balance. She fell in love with a chef named David, whose own life had mirrored her early struggles. Family illness, poverty, the necessity of hard work. Together, they built a home full of laughter and compassion, a retreat from the storms of public scrutiny. As time passed, Emma's work inspired a movement. Dozens of other restaurant chains, hotels, and even schools asked for help crafting similar policies. She and her circle of care traveled like missionaries across continents, sometimes struggling, always coursing with hope. William, more frail now, set up a fund for small business owners wanting to follow Emma's lead. He insisted she oversee it, declaring, "I want this legacy to be yours as much as mine." Eventually, the Golden Fork Foundation was born, a non-profit that exported the same staff-centered philosophy to any business that wanted it. Emma's work became global. Webinars, consulting trips, and collaborations with workers' unions, activists, and even government agencies. She helped draft new labor laws, sat on panels, testified before city councils and parliament, and always kept one foot in the kitchen, reminding herself of how far she'd come every time she tied on an apron. And still, the mural in Manhattan drew pilgrims from all over. Waiters, cooks, students, and customers arrived to see the wall of notes, faces, and upraised hands. They sent photos home, wrote stories about dignity and courage, and carried the spirit of Emma's note wherever they went. Her father, in his old age, sometimes came to sit in the restaurant and watch staff go about their lives, marveling, "What you began, Emma, won't end with you." There were moments of darkness, loss of friends, betrayal by partners, exhaustion so deep she worried she'd collapse. But every time, she found strength in the community she helped make, remembering that, as Bill had taught her, no one carried the sky alone. T. Williams Memorial. Thousands gathered to share stories of his kindness and regret. Emma, holding his old coat, promised the crowd, "We will keep building. For Bill, for every life we touch. Kindness is contagious. Courage is forever." As the story fades, Emma stands in a sunlit restaurant, surrounded by a staff grown from her original team, each face a testament to survival and growth. She watches a new hire comfort a nervous customer, sees a manager work late to help a dishwasher, and feels the full legacy she's created take root. Because in the end, one note in a busy restaurant wasn't just a warning. It was the spark that lit a fire across the world. Years rolled on. The world changed in ways big and small, and so did Emma Brooks. Silver threaded itself through her hair, but her eyes stayed bright, a blend of wisdom, patience, and unshakable resolve. The Golden Fork Foundation, under her leadership, branched into hundreds of cities and towns around the world, each chapter forging its own path, each one carrying a strand of the legacy that had begun with her note, her courage. In her later years, Emma made it a tradition to return to Manhattan every spring, sitting quietly in a corner booth beneath the great mural. She would listen to the laughter, to the clang of plates, to the quick patter of shoes across tile. Old staff and new would recognize her, some with awe, most with simple affection. To them she was not a legend, just Emma. One day, as cherry blossoms danced on the breeze and sunlight spilled through the tall windows, Emma was joined by her grown daughter, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, now in her 30s, was a teacher, as passionate about her students as Emma had been about her staff. They shared a meal, a simple one, a burger and coffee, just as Emma had once served William Carter so many years before. "Mom," Jacqueline said, "I don't think you realize how much you've changed. People say you built an empire out of kindness." Emma smiled, wrinkled hands resting on Jacqueline's. "It wasn't me alone. Never is. It's everyone who chooses to see the invisible, who picks the honest way, even when it would be easier not to." They spent the afternoon with some staff, sharing stories of difficult guests, great nights, and tiny acts of everyday joy. Jacqueline met Denise, spry and still creative in the kitchen, now mentoring a new generation of chefs who came from everywhere the world reached. Staff came and went, hugging Emma, joking with her, asking her thoughts on some fresh dilemma. As twilight fell, Jacqueline suggested a stroll. They wandered into the city, finding themselves at the foot of the mural. Emma paused, reading the dozens of new notes that had joined her own. Each told a story, some small, some world-shattering. There was a note from a waiter who'd prevented a fire, a scribble about a dishwasher's first college acceptance, a crayon message from a cook's child. Courage, kindness, standing up for what's right. The story stretched onward, ink on plaster, an endless chain. Emma touched one, thought back to all the years that had passed, to the night she lay awake wondering if it was all worth it, to the friends and family she'd gained and lost along the way. Quiet pride filled her, a soft contentment that settled deep in her bones. A cab drove by, and Emma smiled at the memory of her old life, of rushing for the subway, tired and battered, dreaming of a different future. She realized she had become the role model she once hoped existed in the world, a beacon quietly showing others the way. In the last decade of her career, Emma scaled back, focusing not on growth but on deepening the foundation's programs. She invested in trauma counseling for hospitality workers, scholarships for children of low-wage staff, and launched an emergency fund for workers facing family or health crises. In one of her final public speeches, Emma stood before a packed hall at a global hospitality summit. Her voice was mellow but powerful. "I want to end with a story if you'll let me. Years ago, I slipped a note under a diner's bill, terrified and desperate. That moment, that small act changed my life and the lives of so many others. What I've learned is that courage is not about being unafraid, but about speaking and acting with your heart, even when you're scared. Every great movement, every ripple of justice or kindness, begins with one person daring to do what's right." She looked out over the crowd, full of young workers, business titans, hopeful activists, and policymakers. "Whatever power you have, use it to lift others. If you're a leader, listen. If you're a worker, speak. If you see someone hurting, help. Little by little, we remake the world not with grand gestures, but with 1,000 small choices to care." When she finished, the room rose in a standing ovation. But Emma, as always, was modest. She left the summit quietly, catching a late flight home. There she sat with her family, watching the city lights, and told Jacqueline the full story of the Golden Fork, of William, of Denise, of the staff whose names the world would never know, but whom she'd never forget. In the years that followed, Emma mentored her granddaughter, Sophie, a fiery spirit with an eye for justice. Together, they would visit restaurants around the city, pointing out signs of fairness, kindness, and courage in the most ordinary places. Emma delighted in seeing Sophie's worldview, noticing the quiet heroes, applauding the everyday. Emma's final years were gentle and full. When she passed away in the small apartment she'd kept all her life, refusing to move, wanting always to remember her roots, the news rippled around the world. Tributes poured in from presidents, workers, and customers alike to Emma's memorial. Held in the original Golden Fork, staff old and new came together, reading aloud from her note, from the mural, from hundreds of testimonials sent from restaurants in every country imaginable. Jacqueline spoke tearfully but with pride. "My mother taught me and all of you what it looks like to lead with your heart." Her legacy lives in every act of courage, in every worker who won't be silenced, in every business that chooses compassion over comfort. As the sun set, a new generation of workers pledged to uphold Emma's legacy. Across the world, Emma Brooks's story became part of the fabric of their own. Napkin notes, murals, and programs dedicated to kindness multiplied. Not just in restaurants but in offices, hospitals, hotels, and schools. Because that is how change endures. Long after a single act, the spirit of courage and kindness ripples outward, never truly ending. For as long as there are quiet people in need, as long as injustice burns in corners nobody sees, there will always be those inspired by Emma to slip a note, to speak a truth, to begin again. And so, Emma's story, born from a moment of fear and hope in a New York restaurant, carried on. An endless tale of integrity, dignity, and the power of ordinary people to change the world, one small act at a time. Fade out, the mural illuminated under golden light, the city moving on, courage forever in its heartbeat.